Hello, Mike, Alex, VB. How are you, legends? All good, all good. Suto, everything's great on my end. Super excited. Ahota GM, my friend. We have a lot to cover today, boys. Let me get a glass of water before we begin here. Hmm. We have releases, we have lore, we have news, novelties. I have many fronts of updates for everyone. Feeling good about this episode. Agent Solace, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, everyone, pleasure to have you here. And let's wait a few more minutes because people are still coming. NDR, IC, my friends, welcome. This is the way, right, Doc? Some lore while playing Holocene. I see many of the big guys of Holocene here today. Nice. We are going to talk a lot about Holocene, especially the next steps, what I'm preparing in terms of lore, new seasons, content. We are super excited. It's a very, very interesting period in Star Atlas history right now. We are on the verge of most of our most massive releases. It's the best releases we ever had in the history of this company, to quote President Trump. So, yeah, I'm hyped, excited, and I'll share with you guys a
over
few secrets.
over there.
Right over there, Agent Solace. Yeah, so everyone is, I hope everyone is in your seats with some water or a coffee. Mm, because we're about to get started. First of all, I want to share some news. Some news that the people that like Staratos lore. Don't worry, my friend, I was just joking with you. It's all good. So, the first news that I have for you guys is that Core is coming back. You heard it here, you heard it first. Core is very close to coming back. This is alpha that only the lore keepers people are getting. We are very, very close of releasing to reestablishing the pipeline for core, and very, very soon you guys will have access to the first episode of the continuation of core history. And man, I was discussing the drafts with Chin, who is the artist behind the history and the story and the drawings of core. And man, he's going all in. Like, it's super cool. You guys will see those next episodes of core. They will show the events that led to the start of the Convergence War. So you guys will learn about the characters that were involved in the beginning of the Convergence War, how the factions tensions scaled all the way to the conflict that nearly wiped out intelligence life in Galia Expanse. You guys will learn more about some characters in the lore that you guys have seen but not heard much about, like Paizo, Bekalu, the leaderships. You get to know the leaderships of the Mud faction, of the Uster faction. It's going to be super interesting. Yeah, I am. I'm super excited about Core coming back. It's it's super cool. I mean, I'm totally biased, but I really like Core. I really like our lore in that we are developing there. And yeah, it's huge news that it's coming back. And I hope everyone is as excited as me to welcome back Core to the universe of Star Atlas. With that said, I also would like to remind you guys that very soon we are going to have the beginning of Star Atlas Summer. Let me get real quick here the the announcement that was made here. Let me share here in the chat. I love this Dark Seagull versus Newt. Hey Brujo, welcome my friend. So here guys, we have 3 town halls. The first one is coming right now, 2 weeks from now, on July 28th. Sorry, July 30. The second one will come at August 13, and the last one will be August 27. It is imperative, I'm telling you guys, to be present in that event, in those events. Like every single one of those town halls will be dedicated to a different product launch in Star Atlas. It is the biggest series of releases in our company history. Uh, most of them, if not all of those town halls, all those releases will also be packed with lore information. So if you are into Star Atlas lore, you'll see the first effects of the build up of the lore world of Star Atlas coming to life in those new products. And another very special side note here is that to kickstart all of this, we have Community Week going from July 28th to August 1st. And Community Week, for those of you who were not present in the brew yesterday, Community Week is going to be a week-long celebration where the whole community of Star Atlas gets together to participate in events, have fun together, participate in a series of challenges, which range from trivia questions to Gartic, Discord games, town halls, UE5 matches. And if you guys are present, if you guys are participating, you guys will get community tickets. And those tickets, you can use them in the drawing at the end of the community week. And you will be able to, hopefully you'll be able to get some of the prizes that we are going to share. You'll be able to get up to large ships, uh, which are super cool. They can make you money on Sage, and I wouldn't miss this for sure. I mean, it's super important to be active in the community. We'll have this is totally free, by the way. You don't need to spend a single Atlas. All you gotta do is come, get together with the community, participate, watch the Johnny Awards, watch the guild competitions in Copa. Yes, Agent Solace, every event you are able to get tickets. Uh, but most of the tickets will require you to do different tasks. Nothing super hard, but you need to, for example, participate in challenges, answer trivia questions about the lore of Star Atlas, There will be plenty of activities. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but it is going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's a time to get together with our friends in the community and to get to know each other, to have fun together. That's the vibe that we want. Because when we get started with the town hall, there will be a series of massive releases, and we want to get everyone in the right mood to enjoy our summer season here in Star Atlas. So now that I gave you guys the intro necessary about our upcoming events, I'm going to share a little bit of my ideas for today. Um, Today, I wanted to have a more casual conversation because, among many things, because we have lots of alpha in terms of lore with the new releases that are coming. So I don't want to spoil too much today because you guys will be seeing things firsthand when we have our product releases in the many different fronts of Star Atlas. But I wanted to share some uh, new factions that I'm working on. Um, Hopefully, you guys will like those concepts. You guys will give me some feedback on them. Uh, and also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the new scenarios that I'm working on for Holocene. And I really wanted to hear your guys' impressions on them. Give me your feedback, the kind of mechanics that you guys would like to see in the in this new scenario, doing some brainstorming with you guys on that front as well. And also, I would like to open the space for us to have a more casual conversation over any topics that you guys would like to know more about the lore of Star Atlas overall, about the different factions, about the different species, about the planets, about the high risk zone, the medium risk zone, the low risk zone. Well, today is going to be super chill, super casual, just for us to get together, discuss the Staratas lore, uh, and mostly have fun. With that said, I will start sharing with you guys some of my latest ideas in terms of factions for us in Star Atlas. Uh, a reminder here is that those factions, you guys will start seeing them in the Agent Solace. I'll pause here because the scenario that I have written, or that I am one of the scenarios that I'm working on right now, Agent Solace, and that I'm going to present to you guys, is is built under this premise that you just shared. It is a scenario where all players will play in the same faction. But let's keep it steady. We'll have plenty of time to work on that, to talk about the scenario. Yeah. Lich King vibes. But we'll have plenty of time. I really want to deep dive on that. So let's go after the minor factions work that I'm currently developing, and then so you guys can give me some feedback on them. How do you feel about them? And then we can move to ideas for the upcoming scenarios of Holocene. I'm going to share you guys some insights that I have on that front as well. So, first of all, I would like to preface this conversation telling you guys that if you have been here in the Lore Keepers before, you know that Star Atlas is divided in three main factions: the Usturs, the android entities that rule the northern eastern side of the medium and safe zone, which seek enlightenment and which seek enlightenment, and they are they are organized under uh, uh, how can I put it, a philosophical and religious doctrine called the path of enlightenment, where they progress through the different steps of enlightenment. And as they do this, they learn to cultivate and augment their bodies in their own journeys of enlightenment. On the other side of the map, we have the Oni Consortium, where we have the Punabs, high and profound Punabs. We have the carefree and spiritualized Miris. We have the very serious and duty oriented Sogmians. And we have the enigmatic Photolis as well. And finally, we have ourselves, the Muds, or the Manus Ultima Divina, which is the representation or the main branch of humanity in the Staratas galaxy, united under the leadership of the prophets and descendants of the humans who helped the envoy of God are to unify humankind. But beside those three main factions, which are, let's say, the main political forces in Star Atlas, we have also minor factions. The Star Atlas Galia Expanse is huge. Uh, right now, if I'm not mistaken, we are around 1,000 sectors and 3,000 planets, I guess. And it's a lot of ground. It's a lot of ground to cover, and the factions barely hold influence over their own territories, which means that there is a lot of empty space, and that empty space of powers are filled by the different factions of our universe. And among those factions, we have, for example, the Jarvik Pirates. We also have, for example, the Ecos Terrorists. Uh, we have the organizations of the black market. We have uh, the Paladins of Eol Garadar. And today, I'm going to present to you guys two new factions that I have never pretty much told anyone before. One is an organization from the high risk zone. Maybe organization is not even the correct term here. They are more like a species, and also a very famous organization for the general population of the low risk zone and the medium risk zone, that it's one of the most funny organizations in a manner that I have ever written about. I hope you guys will enjoy it. So I'm going to introduce them now. Stop teasing and building up hype. I'm going to share with you guys the story of the Umbral Court. This is a provisory name until I found something better. And the Hopla Insurance Company. Let me get here my files so we can start discussing both organizations. Give me a second, guys. Doo, doo, doo. VM Jindo,
Il m'a toujours méprisé pour mon insignifiance.
Dendian, you have a hot mic, my friend. Um, First, let's start with the Umbral Court. I would like to give you guys some context on this species, how they were born, the logic behind them, and how they came to be, how they are organized, and the kind of threat that they pose to you as players and to the galaxy overall. The Umbral Court, this is a provisory name. I need to find a better name, so don't judge me based on that name yet. They are a species of parasitic shadows. In their natural form, they are pretty much like a slime or an ooze that looks like a shadow. And when they were created, they are native to the high risk zone. They they live in a planet very close to the cataclysm called Ondera. And in this planet, this Oz-like form, this shadow, it lived a very normal life. It was a normal species that lived by uh, predating and connecting with smaller insects, with small rats, and things like that. So, for example, this ooze would connect with a rat or something like this, and once that creature, as time went by, the ooze would start controlling the host and using it to fulfill their life functions. Uh, this used creature, it has the ability to empower certain aspects of the host, and as time progressed, they were they were somewhat successful in their planets, but due to the lack of sentient beings and etc., they were most destroyed by big mammals or the creatures in their homeworld, meaning that they were barely problematic on their own. But everything changed during the Convergence War. This planet, Andera, is one of the planets in the high risk zone sectors, which has the biggest deposits of rayonite. Rayonite is a new resource that you guys will probably get to know when we release C4. I think it's already. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to find it in the medium risk zone, or if it's only if the game design has decided that it will stay just in the high risk zone. But Hainite is one of the minerals in Star Atlas that has a very good synergy. It's a very strong catalyst for energy usage and especially light. So it is a very desired mineral for the Photoli species and by any other civilization who wants to deal with the Photoli. And what happened during the Convergence War is that a colony of Sogmians um, came to this planet and started settling um, in their path to get to Iris, to get to the Cataclysm, and also to start creating pipelines that would allow their trading with the members of the Photoli species. As the Convergence War raged on, this colony, this mining world, which had very little military defenses because it was pretty much like an outpost for the Sogmians, uh, it, it gets attacked by the Mud civilization. And The battles across the planet rages on. Sogmians send reinforcements. The mud pressure scales, and the planet lived as a battlefront for many, many months. As the battle in the nearby sectors got stronger and more intensive, the factions, the Mud and the Sogmian factions, they started retreating, and they had operations in that planet. They started bombing the planet, trying to eradicate each other, trying to at least destroy the veins of Rayonite. And in this mess, the Umbrals, these Oz-like creatures, they start getting a taste for mud and Sogmian hosts. They would find the first Sogmian, and this is part of their species lore and canon. Those creatures, they didn't have any rationality. They didn't have a mind. When they don't infiltrate in a host, they are nearly feral creatures that the only desire, their only wish, their only focus is on getting on a host. So they find this Sogmian soldier nearly dead, and the creature invades the Sogmian body. And when the creature invades the Sogmian body, the Sogmian was near his bed. It was near his death door. He was unable to resist or to do anything. The creature starts to heal the Sogmian's wounds and takes over the Sogmian. It takes over the Sogmian. No worries, my friend. You can watch the recording later. It The creature, it takes over the Sogmian body, and they have access to the Sogmian memories. And the creature starts mixing with its host, and it acquires exactly. It acquires a will. It acquires intelligence, and it realizes the world around them, their fellow species members, and etc. So what he starts doing is that he starts plotting and getting more and more hosts among the dying civilization of the planet to their fellow members. Time passes, and the factions totally retreat at that point, leaving only the the dying world for itself. And those creatures, the Umbrals, they they possesses every single Sogmian or mud that was left behind in those planets. And the curious thing is that they start forming a culture. They start forming a society. And what is interesting about those creatures is that they start fusing with their hosts. And due to the fact that they have possessed Sogmians, what they do is create a very stratified society uh, in this planet that follows the logic of how the Sogmian civilization organizes itself. Here, I'll stop for a second to answer a Hota question. What happens to the host's minds? A Hota, it depends, and here I'll after I finish this brief history tidbit about the species, I'm going to tell you a little bit about their biology and how they work. But in most cases, most scenarios, what the creature does is that it starts feeding and eroding the minds of their hosts. So as time passes by, they basically becomes empty shells that the creatures uses as they are using as clothes. That's what usually happens with those creatures. They substitute the host creature, but they become something new. They develop their own personality. So for example, you may see traces of the creature, of the individual that was there before, but what surfaces, what controls the body is the actual creature, the actual umbral. And as I was saying, they started creating a society that mirrored to some extent the the logics of the Sogmians and of the Muds. So they created a system that follows somewhat the feudal model. They have a creature which they call the Twilight Lord, which is the head of their species or civilization, following the logic of the Sovereign in the Sogmian culture. And under this Twilight Lord, and I'll explain this character in a little bit because he's very important for this species, and it's one of the reasons where shit hasn't hit the fan until now. You have the kings of this species, which are high level shadows, high level umbrals that represent different families in this planet. You have uh, and those kings, they have the names of Noctars. I'll share those in the chat in a little bit. And from there, you have a very stratified society focused on court activities, focused on trying to seize power, and they organize themselves under the quest to find good quality hosts. The way that you advance in the civilization is by acquiring very good quality hosts. So, for example, the lower castes, the basic umbral citizen, let's say it like that, he'll have like, let's say, the equivalent of a dog or a cat as a host. He'll pretty much be a serf. He'll pretty much just follow the orders of the higher beings in the planet. Uh, I, let's say a caste above that would be bigger creatures with small signs of intelligence, but with a bigger physical capacities and etc. And then it goes scaling to uh, you are getting exactly what I want to get. Hold on, you'll see how this goes. You go and you get stronger, like you get a mud, you get a sogmia, and etc. And at the peak of this civilization, there is an umbral who is supposedly has taken a Photoli body. That's the Twilight Emperor. And the way that the Twilight Emperor works is that he basically is keeping the the umbrals confined in this planet. So whenever one of the umbral families gets too sassy, gets to try to expand their frontiers and or try to seize more power for themselves, the Twilight Lord, who in the lore of this species is said to be immortal, he goes and blasts them away. You know, he keeps control, he keeps them in check, and mostly he plots the families against each other. One of the reasons where they didn't expand so far is that they are very competitive towards one another. It seems that they took the worst traits from the Sogmians and the Muds, and they try to sabotage, steal, and kill each other in order to acquire the better hosts. But the truth here, and this is a little piece of alpha that might come in handy one day when you guys meet the civilization in C4 or anywhere else in the future where you might meet them, is that the Fotoli is not actually under the power of the Umbral. In fact, this Fotoli is just playing pretend with this Umbral and pretty much slacking off from his obligations and taking a vacation in this planet. So he's basically playing God with this species. And some of the most high ranking members of the Umbral know this. They know this fact, but they don't have the power as of now to do anything about this. So they are actively trying to find a way to kill the Fotoli. And this is a very dangerous game by this Fotoli. He's called Val. Fotoli Val. And depending on the events of the lore of how C4, how Unreal Engine 5 evolves, how you guys will interact with the civilization in the future, maybe the Fotoli will be overcome and this species will become a major threat to the galaxy, or maybe they'll be they'll be wiped out and you guys will come up with a way to deal with the situation. Um, this is the general story and lore of this civilization. Um, there are more details to them, like for example, the different families of those umbrals. They have different philosophies. So while most of them simply use their hosts as livestock and a way to garner more prestige or power, one of the families, uh, where is the family name that I wrote down here? Yes, family Korosten has a progressive faction that believes that the host and the umbral can coexist. And what they do is they try to live a symbiotic relationship where both parties get benefits from it. But they are a minor faction in this civilization, so most of the individuals and the species they keep themselves they keep themselves on the more of using uh, the members of their species of the other species as livestock. I will open for questions in just a little bit, Ahota. I just want to close this part by saying that those guys, even though they have a prohibition of leave the planet from the Twilight Lord decree, they try to do it under wraps. And what they do is that they buy citizens of Galia Expanse with slave traders across the galaxy. And they and they and what they do sorry baby, I'm getting hyped. I forgot to drink water. And what they do is that they offer a piece for buying slaves, since they don't have they trade ryanite, they trade the rare minerals that they can be found in their planets, but also they sell portions of their organic matter. And this organic matter is a legendary tier ingredient in game that you can use to build augmentations that elevate your crew members' uh, mind power, willpower, and overall body enhancement uh, techniques. So take care if your crew is ambushed in the high risk zone, or if you find a suspicious merchant while flying there, it might be a member of the Umbrals. So that's the Umbrals. Any questions so far, guys? I hope if you want to type questions, or if you guys have any specific questions about this faction, I'll be more than glad to answer. If not, I'll move on to the next one. And I just realized that I used already 40 minutes of the lore keepers. Great question, Hota. To a certain point, yes. And this is a major part of the conflict that happens amidst their king. There are poisons or substances that, and I'll not reveal that substance because it might come in hand in the future if one of your crew members becomes infected by these creatures. But there are substances that, if you expose the umbral to them, it's like a poison to them. And the host will start vomiting the creature will wither and die, and you can save the host creature. Yes, it is possible, but you need to do this like how this works. If I had to explain to you in RPG terms, is that your crew member, for example, he'll have a certain amount of willpower, for example, and the parasite starts eroding this through time, and if you don't save him or her before the total destruction happens, you lose the crew member. So it's super important to be to help it uh to help the your crew member as fast as possible. Can you negotiate with the symbiotic ones to enhance and keep your crew members? Possibly, yes. It depends on how your relationships with the members of this faction work. You know, they are, as a minor faction in Star Atlas, they have their own agendas, they have their own lore and objectives, and if you play your cards right, if you create a relationship with them, it is possible to do something like that. But you should be aware that for the most of them, they don't see you as nothing else more than livestock and a resource to be used. Another important thing is that after the creature bonds with a host, the creature is able to leave the host behind, but what happens is that they will take traits or aspects of the creature with them. So that's one of the reasons why most of the families of the Umbrals, they will try not to poison their, let's say, their bodies by engaging with lesser hosts. The upper scales of the Umbral society, they will, for example, they have a son, they have one of their oases, they are formed, and they will save him in this very vulnerable form that is their main body, and they will keep them safe until they find a suitable host for their family member, for example. And once that host is found, only then they will allow the creature to engage with them. Because as I told you guys, those creatures in the wild, they are feral creatures. They'll just try to possess the first thing that they find. And if left to their own will, they'll just possess a insect or a rat or anything that they found. And this compromises their capabilities in the future. That's another very good question. the hosts can breed a hota, but the creature those are two different things. One is the breeding of the host, and another is the breeding of the creatures. For the creatures to reproduce, they need to leave the host bodies for a while. So this is a very vulnerable moment in their species lore, and this is a moment where they are very susceptible to attack from even from their own faction enemies, from their own species enemies, and anyone else. They usually do this in very fortified places that keeps them safe while they are doing this, and this takes a while to happen. And they can be detected if you know what you are looking for. Whenever one of those creatures they possesses, let's say it like that, the term that they use on their own language is confluence. They do a ritual of confluence. What they do is if you know what to look for, like if you have the enough proficiency in medicine or if you have knowledge about the traits of those creatures, you notice some elements that look strange. Like for example, you see that the creature eyes eyeballs turn a little darker, or if it bleeds, it also shows pieces of the ooze organic matter. There are ways to identify that an individual is under, let's say, confluence or being embraced by a umbral, and any medium tier exam from a medical facility will detect that there is a parasite body inside the host. So at least that, right? At least that. The high risk zone is a very dangerous place, guys. I'm telling you, I'm building it to make it a challenge for everyone. So yeah. All right. Any other questions? Um, realized that I used a lot of our time just to talk about this faction. So I'll open here for debate. Do you guys want to hear about the other faction? Or do you guys want to go to Holocene scenarios that I am working on or thinking about, especially the PvE scenario where everyone fights in the same team or level? Everyone works on the same faction. We are divided. Everyone cast your votes, otherwise, I'll just throw a dice and see what happens. Uh, the faction that we are going to talk about, just to give you more substance to decide, is Hopla Insurance Company. Yeah, I see people talking about PvE. It's unfortunate. I really love the I really love my insurance company. I think you guys will really like the concept that I wrote for it. But let's go to Holocene because this seems to be what you guys want to know more about. So as you guys know, in Holocene, we have an alternative reality of Star Atlas. Holocene is an anomaly tier entity, and it's capable of creating scenarios with pretty much uh, any kind of custom uh, inputs that the person directing the you like Sage, Jeremy? Nice. Using whatever designs that the guy prompting it desires. And the interesting thing about Holocene is that it creates the most factual results possible, meaning that it's trying to extrapolate based on the data that it has about the galaxy how the actual scenario would look like based on the, let's say, the different inputs or conditions that you write for the scenery. Right now, we are in what we call the chapter 0 of Holocene. This disclosed beta test that we are in right now is season 0, chapter 0 of Holocene. So you guys are testing this first interaction where the narrative, the plot, is a simulation of how a war in the medium risk zone would play out, where the economic fight between the factions could scale and how it would turn out. And you guys will play this uh, through this first chapter 0 of Holocene. But we in the Holoteam team are already thinking about different future scenarios. And what I would love to get you guys feedback today. How do you guys feel about this? If you think this is interesting, or if you'd rather have different types of scenarios, I'll talk about those as well in a bit or in a future lore keepers. But one scenario that plays really close to my heart is a PvE scenario where every player in Holocene will not be necessarily fighting the other factions, but all of us would be members of the very same faction in Holocene, and you guys would be fighting the map. And the story for this scenario is a what if. And the what if in this scenario is what if civilization in Galia collapses? So the plot of this scenario starts in the last um, Titan ship where the citizens of the three factions, Mud, Ustur, and Oni, they got together and they escaped destruction of civilization in Galia Expanse. I won't give you guys the spoiler to tell you what happened, but an extinction level event happens in Galia Expanse. And civilization, as we know, the current factions, the current sectors, the economy, the star path, the Council of Peace, everything is destroyed. And the only remains of civilization are the population in that Titan ship, which is now in the last legs. So you guys, the players, are the last members of the Oni, Mud, and Nuster, and you guys are all together in this quest to save civilization uh, in Galia Expanse from extermination. And the idea that and the way that I built the scenario on is that uh, you guys start in this ship. The ship life support is on its last legs, and you guys, each one of you guys, has just an air bike, a very bad air bike, and you guys need to colonize the planets around you and save civilization from destruction. But the thing is, the galaxy map would be pretty much dark. You guys wouldn't see anything uh, farther, far, further than the limits of the failing scans of your Titan ship, and every single sector, all the planets, all the star bases, they have evolved, drifted from civilization, and you guys would need to rebuild your way, uncover the technologies lost, and recreate the supply chains, pipelines, and do quests to unlock the technology, the reserves, and life as you had before the fallout of civilization. And this scenario would be much more like an RPG session than what is now in Holocene. For example, there would be random events happening during the course of the quest and weeks. Uh, this would be uh, this would be somewhat of a new map, yes, Kiwimi, yeah, and you guys would engage with uh, different species. I don't want to give away too many spoilers. Some of them would be neutral, or depending on your actions, how do you guys negotiate as a civilization, they could become friends. Most of them would be hostile to you guys, and you guys can lose the game. That's the main difference between the Sage that we have right now and this scenario, is that you guys will be fighting against me in the map that I would prepare for you guys, me, Xcode, and the others. And we would see how long you guys last, or if you guys can win against the map and pretty much revive civilization in Galia Expanse. And I would love to hear your comments on what you guys think of this idea, or if you guys would rather have the conventional PvP map. This is really a consultation to what you guys feel is cooler. If this is something that you'd like to see in the future in Star Atlas, or do you prefer the more PvP focused maps in Holocene? You guys tell me. I think Funcracker liked it. I think it's fair to say he liked it. Yeah, Funcracker, it would be a lot more roleplay based, much more lore focused, you know, much more cooperation between people. Yeah, Lordo, I agree with you, my friend. This is something that we really need to test and see. And for me, yes, same. I come from the Warcraft. Yeah, this is the vibe that I wanted to give, like the campaign Warcraft 3. Because for me, this makes my life easier as well to write all the quests. Because if you guys see Holocene quests right now, uh, since I'm the only one writing all the lore, I can't create lore for each one of the sectors, for each one of the factions. Because I still have lots of things to do in the other fronts of Autop. So the lore needs to be more diluted in order to allow everyone to be part of this lore. But if we have everyone in a single faction, everyone fighting uh, against the same enemy, living through the same sectors, rebuilding civilization together, this makes a lot easier to coordinate the creation of the lore and etc. And the way that I'm thinking this, guys, is that, for example, when you guys find a new sector, you guys will need to whether fight that civilization, ally with it, take the starbase from them, investigate, try to discover the technology, try to rebuild ships, discover secrets of that sector. Yeah, this is the general idea. Like you guys getting together, everyone on the same team, trying to uncover the secrets of what happened in this scenario, this will also be a huge part of the campaign, like understanding what actually went wrong and why civilization collapsed, because no one that's currently living was there to know what actually happened. And yeah, this is the overall idea for this scenario. I'm glad you guys liked it. I'll tell Xcode now that I have the support for everyone in the lore keepers. I think it's going to be. I'm not sure we can do it in the near term. Like maybe we'll have a couple more seasons with more PvP oriented scenario, but there will come a point where we'll be testing this PvE everyone in the same team campaign. And I think there are lots of players in Star Atlas who wants to play this kind of content, right? More PvE map and etc. And yeah, man, I'm super glad that you guys liked the idea. I will share the feedback from you guys here with the Holocene team. And I think we are over our time now. Santi is waiting for me in a meeting. He's already DMing me. But thank you all for being here and coming. And it's a pleasure to see the lore keepers growing. We already have 25 people. This is a lot. I feel super happy to have each one of you guys here with us and helping me with the lore and sharing ideas and building up the world of Star Atlas. And sit tight because we have lots of cool stuff coming our way. Now we are really, really close to it. It's always a pleasure to share a little bit of what we are doing. And don't miss the upcoming events and the next lore keepers. Thank you all, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next brew. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye bye.